Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on this new DC universe coming our way. So we've had the commencement of filming and just, I guess, overall production for this Supergirl film in this new DC universe over the past week or so, roughly. But another project set to start soon is that of Lanterns. We've had various casting announcements for this project for characters like Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and some other supporting characters within the series. So it's not too much of a surprise that as we get closer to the kickoff, we're getting more, and we just got big one. And this is meant to be apparently the last big casting for this series, but it is one that isn't too surprising, but it's just like an overall interesting point to see who they would cast in the role, because you'd assume this character might appear in other things going forward. Maybe, because it might be a question mark on that, which we'll talk about later in this video. And from what I can see in regards to this casting, they've done a pretty good job, and this is for the role of Sinestro. So this is coming exclusively from Deadline. They reported on this first, but other people have backed it up now as well, with them saying the following. Exclusive, Ulrich Thompson from Counterpart in the Blacklist has been tapped to recur in the HBO, WBTV and DC Studios series Lanterns as DC supervillain Sinestro. The series follows new recruit Jon Stewart, played by Aaron Pierre, and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, played by Kyle Chandler, two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Sinestro is a former Green Lantern who turned rogue and is described as ruthless yet undeniably charming. Sinestro's manipulative nature drives his enduring obsession with his former mentee, Hal Jordan. Sinestro was created by, blah, 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 when he was, created and stuff in the comics. But as you can see on screen, we do have Ulrich Thompson side by side with Sinestro. You can sort of see the vision, I guess. I'd assume they might just do full makeup. I don't know, would they do any sort of CGI? I feel like if I'm thinking like Damon Lindelof, what he did with like Watchmen and Dr. Manhattan, they just did complete makeup there. I'd assume they'll probably do the same here. So just like some pink sort of paint, like face paint, and some hands and stuff like that. And then like just a black sort of wig going on. I'd assume that's probably what they're going to do. I don't know if they'll do CGI unless it's for like minor details. In regards to this casting, I think it looks pretty solid. I haven't watched anything, unfortunately, that he's been in. Like, I haven't watched The Blacklist. He's also in Banshee. I think he has a sizable role in that show, Banshee, which has Anthony Starr from The Boys in it. I haven't watched that show. It's been recommended. I haven't got around to watching it as of yet. But apparently he's really good in that. He's very, like, he's very villainous, if you want to put. He's got a very like threatening presence about him, but also, cunning as well. So based off what others have said and just from his overall look, it looks like it's a decent casting. Now, a lot of people, once again, like there's been with some other of the roles in the DCU, it's not a big name. But I don't know if anyone was really expecting massive names to be in this Lantern series, especially outside of the two main roles of Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. You expect at least one of those to be big names. Not really, so you wouldn't expect the supporting roles of like Sinestro or the other ones out there and stuff like that as well to be overly big. I think in this case, you're casting specifically just to play this character and not be, oh, it's this person playing this character. It's just the character. Now, obviously, the interesting point with this is like, what Sinestro are we getting? Because in that description there, they say like Sinestro is a former Green Lantern who turned rogue, and he was like, they say there, but he has an enduring obsession with his former mentee, Hal Jordan. Now, is that the description for the show, or are they just talking about the comics? It's not clear. They didn't say that he's described as, from the casting description. They could be taking it from the internet because they're just describing Sinestro from the comics. But then again, you'd assume that's just going to be Sinestro on the show as well. But the reason I say that is because are we getting Sinestro as a Green Lantern Corps member before he goes Yellow Lantern, or are we getting him as Yellow Lantern or Sinestro Corps Sinestro? Like, which version are we getting? I would assume you're getting Yellow Lantern Corps or Sinestro Corps Sinestro. I think you'd assume that's the version you're going to get, under the Yellow Lantern sort of thing. I'd assume so. The main reason is that we're getting a whole old Hal Jordan. Like, if we're getting an old Hal Jordan, Sinestro's even older. He's the mentor to Hal Jordan. He was, as I say there, like his former mentee, as in his former student, Hal Jordan. So you'd assume that Sinestro to be much older, much more experienced, but also more corrupted by the Yellow Lantern as well. So it will be very interesting. I don't know if we've really ever seen that sort of take on Sinestro, which might be the reason they really wanted to put him in there, but also maybe even make Hal Jordan older. Like, how does being an older member of the Green Lantern Corps and all that experience affect you? But also on this other flip side with the Yellow Lantern, that'd be very interesting. Now, they do say it's a recurring role, which isn't like a main character, but it means he's in multiple episodes. So I don't know how many, I don't think they said how many episodes there is for Lanterns, but let's just assume there's like 10. Let's just assume there's 10. That will probably mean he's in at least 3 or 4 of them. So he's in at least 3 or 4 of them. It'll be interesting to see how much he's in there and stuff like that. But I am just interested to see, in regards to the comic side of things, what they're really looking at to adapt into this series, whether it's an all round sort of thing, like, oh, we're using like 8 different things as inspiration, or if there's one clear one. Now, we've gone back to the fact that when they announced this, they used the artwork from the Green Lantern Earth 1 series, which has 2 books in it. Sinestro's in that, but Sinestro in that is also a Green Lantern when we first meet him, and throughout that story he gets corrupted and takes on, or doesn't get corrupted, I want to say, but takes on the Yellow Lantern ring throughout that story. I wonder if we'll get flashbacks throughout this series, which maybe show some dynamics between Hal and Sinestro, but then also maybe the parallels between Hal and John as well. That wouldn't surprise me too much. And maybe there's some things that John does that maybe lean into maybe maybe there's some similarities between John Stewart or Sinestro, and maybe that's something that's going on there. And maybe Hal's very doesn't trust like new Green Lanterns or company coming in, or like ones that he wasn't used to when he first came in, just because of what happened with Sinestro. Like Sinestro probably has a lot of baggage, or had left a lot of baggage on Hal Jordan throughout this series potentially. Now, we've brought it up before because it was like the main sort of like kicker, if you want to put it, when they announced this series, but how, they bring up the synopsis there again, how it's, Hal Jordan and John Stewart are drawn together into this Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder. There is a rumor that it's a death of another Green Lantern Corps member that kicks it off, without naming specifically what the Green Lantern Corps member is, but that's the rumor, which I guess makes sense that both of them would be drawn into that one area. If it is a Green Lantern Corps member that is being killed. I've theorized before that it could be Guy Gardner, which, to be honest, I think makes some sort of sense. But regardless of what catalyst does kick off things, it will be very interesting to see if Hal and John are already known to each other in any sort of major way, or at the very least have spent some time around each other previously, even if it's like for like a one mission. But it'll be interesting to see if they know each other okay, or not at all, or very well, or just if the events of this story force them to team up, spend time together, get each other to know each other a bit more, but also maybe Hal to, teach John a bit more about what it means to be a Green Lantern and everything like that. Because we don't know that like John Stewart would have done at this point once he's got the ring. Like, what's the biggest mission he's done? Or is he still in training? Is he just out of training? We don't know. Now, of course, reportedly, this show of Lanterns does set up a larger threat, or the larger threat, in the first chapter, at the very least, of James Gunn's DC Universe story. That's what James Gunn has teased himself, but also what, scoopers have said as well, but they're probably just playing off what James Gunn said initially. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that larger threat is the villain in this series. I'd be sort of surprised if they did that, but at the very least, the larger threat is set up. So maybe the threat in Lanterns, whatever the villain is, or whatever the villains are, connects to that larger threat in some way. I almost think of it as like, I don't know, if like parademons. I'm not saying it's parademons, but let's say parademons showed up in this, then you think, oh, well, it connects to Darkseid. So something along those lines. But as I said, this is the last apparent like major casting for this show, at least in regards to I guess like a name from the comic and something that they'd bother announcing publicly and stuff like this. I am intrigued to see if we see any other Green Lantern Corps members, like a Kilowog, like a Tomorray, anything like that. Maybe Chip the goddamn Squirrel. I'm not too sure. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw like something like that, or at least references to it. But then again, if they do flashbacks could be the one that's easy to do. And also with those characters, it's not going to be a live action performance. It's going to be voice acting. So they can easily have Kilowog, Tomorray, all those different characters in the show, but they'll just be voice acting roles. So they don't have to announce that. They can almost be surprises when the show actually airs. Like, oh, it's this actor voicing this character or whatever. It's probably Chris Pratt again voicing Kilowog. He loves to take every voice acting role. So Chris Pratt is voicing Kilowog, things like that. So I don't think this necessarily, just because it's a last big casting, rules out those characters, because they would be voice roles only anyway. Like, there'd probably be people on set standing in for them, but they wouldn't be the actual actors who are doing the voice role and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd expect more. I think the most interesting thing is, like, do they reference any other Lantern spectrum colors? Is there a red Lantern Corps out there? Is there a blue? Is there a white? Is there whatever? Like, that'll be interesting. I don't know if they'd go that deep. They might actually try and save that. and just have it that like that's something that like develops going forward, at least in regards to like mentioning it publicly, or that's known out there, or they've interacted with that side of things and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Lanterns was the thing I was looking forward to the most, though I have my concerns about it. Just because I think they're actually trying to downplay it. And I have said this before, like, I think they might be, like, from what the synopsis says and stuff, where they say it's very grounded and stuff like that. I'm like, can you really make it grounded Green Lantern show? Like, I think it's sort of hard to do that. Unless, like, it's just, like, the modern day or the present day story is, and then the flashback show us a bit more cool stuff, which I expect to be the case if they do that. And you maybe show, like, some stuff with Hal and Sinestro's relationship and stuff, you know, 10, 20, however long it was before the present day in the show. But yeah, as I said, filming should start soon with this because this was meant to be the last big casting. I don't know if they're filming in Atlanta. I think they're filming in, or at least that's where the main hub is going to be where they film it. Atlanta's sort of like, you either get a lot of set photos from some of the stuff there or none. It's like a flip of the coin. You have no idea. But because it's meant to be like a rural thing, like it's meant to be in like a rural town, I would expect there to not be many set photos unless they do stuff in like a metropolitan area, like they have to do something like an action scene or something, and it takes place in like a downtown area. Maybe something that's meant to be filling in for a city. But then we heard that they were meant to be filming, like they got like some approval to film in California, and that would hint at them maybe doing some Coast City stuff, which of course is where Hal Jordan is from. So maybe they might do some Coast City stuff, which might tie into flashbacks. Or it might be literally where we pick up the show, and that's where Hal Jordan is in the present day when we meet him. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, maybe fingers crossed we get set photos, but at least nothing too spoilery, because I think this is one of those mystery shows, and you'd rather not just have something at least massive spoiled before you even get to watch the show. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions and everything we went over in this video. Always curious to hear what you guys are thinking. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.